Imagine a world without smartphones, cars, or even electricity. Now picture yourself as a colonist in America in 1773. Life was tough, but people enjoyed simple pleasures, like a warm cup of tea. However, in 1773, tea became a symbol of British tyranny with the passing of the Tea Act. This act was passed by the British Parliament. It essentially gave the East India Company a monopoly on selling tea to the American colonies. This meant that colonists could only buy tea from this one company. Seems unfair, right? The colonists thought so too. They saw it as a blatant attempt by the British government to control their lives and their economy. What might seem like a simple tax on tea was, in reality, a much larger issue of freedom and self-governance. You might be thinking, why go through all this trouble for a cup of tea? Well, the British government had their reasons, even if they seemed misguided to the colonists. Firstly, the East India Company was facing financial ruin, and the British government thought this act would bail them out. Secondly, the British government wanted to establish the principle that they had the right to tax the colonies. They believed that, as the mother country, they had the authority to impose taxes and duties as they saw fit. This did not sit well with the colonists. They believed that they should not be taxed without having representation in the British Parliament. This is where the famous phrase, "no taxation without representation," comes from. The Tea Act was like a spark in a powder keg. The colonists, already frustrated with British policies, erupted in protest. Boycotts of British goods, especially tea, spread like wildfire throughout the colonies. People organized committees of correspondence to share information and coordinate their resistance. Passionate speeches and fiery pamphlets denounced the Tea Act and called for action. The colonists were not going to back down. They believed in their right to govern themselves and were willing to fight for it. The stage was set for a showdown between the mighty British Empire and its determined American colonies. The tension finally boiled over in December 1773 at the Boston Tea Party. A group of colonists, disguised as Native Americans, boarded British ships docked in Boston Harbor. In a daring act of defiance, they dumped 342 chests of British tea into the harbor. This event shocked the British government and sent a powerful message throughout the colonies. The colonists were willing to take a stand against what they perceived as injustice. The Boston Tea Party was a turning point in the relationship between Great Britain and the American colonies. It marked an escalation of the conflict and paved the way for the American Revolution. The colonists' fight for liberty and self-determination had begun.